Wait a second, I changed my mind. This is vacuous. Who decided this was a good idea?
I know what we'll do. Let's take Breakout, you know, this game with a circle and rectangles, and remake it on the NES. Nah, it looks too similar to before. How about the SNES? Well, it's a little bit prettier, but it is still just rectangles and a circle. So how about we wait until 3D games are popular so we can use not just circles and rectangles and instead transition to spheres and cuboids.
Now that is inspired. We've also got to give them faces.
This game, Breakout on PS1, is what the system was made for, clearly. It's obvious. Final Fantasy VII? Too lumpy. Parappa the Rapper? Too flat. Bubsy 3D? Too much detail. Oddworld? That isn't even 3D! Terrible! You want the purest essence of a 3D game for a next-generation system? You take a look at Breakout. You can't get much more simplistic and distilled as a concept for an extra dimension remake. Take originally flat shapes and make them not flat. Faultless.
Let's be serious for a second, though. Because I'm a very serious man. What can anybody realistically say about a 3D remake for Breakout? I mean, I have nothing against the original game it's based on. It's a classic, if a little bit simple for today. You know, it isn't Sekiro. Or the tutorial of Cuphead. So you may be wondering why I'm even bothering to talk about this game today. Well, you see, I was actually supposed to talk about this game for my girlfriend Karis's birthday a few months ago, but I never got around to it. Or the year before. Or the year before. Or the year before. So now I finally have time to get around to it, even though I really don't want to.
What?
Look, Karis, I understand this is your favourite game of all time, but without sounding offensive, you're insane. Breakout on PS1 is not very good. I am not going to be doing this video. Okay, let's play some Breakout.
Hey, honey.
Yeah?
Okay, that's not 100% the reason why we're covering this game today. I've been meaning to talk about it for years after Kara showed me it for the first time. I mean, look at it, how could I not talk about it? But what I'm not gonna do is tell you how amazing it is, because my god, it really is not. It doesn't look that bad, and these little buggers, although jarring, are quite adorable. But where Breakout doesn't do too well is with how it feels to play. This, you can't go wrong with this. But this, all these extra polygons going on, I'm very proud of you, Mr. Game. That's some nice 32-bitage you've got going on, but when this starts interfering with something as simple to play and as universally understood and beloved as this, you done poop. And that's assuming the game looks good to begin with, because Christ almighty, look at that dragon. Even worse, look at that wolf. This game came out in the year 2000 and it's a remake of Breakout. Why does this wolf look like a slipper?
So, did you like the original Breakout? Did you think it was good, but thought, oh man, I wish this game had a story? Well, that's good because we've got a story now.
The story begins with how simply brilliant our main character Bouncer is. Isn't he just great? What an optimistic story. But why is he so great, I hear none of you cry? Because his best friend's beach ball got knocked out into the sea and he said he'd go and get it. What a great guy. I hope nothing bad will happen while he's getting it back and his friends are all gone. So despite the fact Bouncer was looking in the exact same direction his friends were, he somehow missed them getting kidnapped by the big baddie of this game, Batnix, who captured all your other Breakout paddle friends in order to steal your girl Daisy all for himself. Hang on a second, these two together look really familiar. Holy moly, they ripped it off! After this, we then get captured and dragged off into a prison with a rope around our body, which, let's be honest, we could easily just slip out of, and then get thrown into a cell where we then meet
Coach Steel.
Yes, that's his name. And no, he's not a drill sergeant from an 80s action flick. He's a steel ball from the game that got tired of being smacked back and forth, became sentient, and started giving advice to other paddles that want to smack other steel balls around. Basically, he's a sadist. And let me tell you, this buffoon of a ball will nearly end you by the end of the first world. The gameplay is in its simplest terms just Breakout. Arkanoid, you know how it goes. You bat a ball back and forth between blocks and clear them out with trickier layouts as you go on. It's Pong against yourself. But for reasons I'll explain as we go on, this is not as smooth to play as you'd expect, and this will cause you to game over constantly. You have 3 lives by default, and after missing 3 shots, you game over, need to start the stage again, your difficulty level decreases, and you hear this ungodly noise. Every single time you game over, you hear this noise, and you can possibly game over within a minute of starting because of the issues the game has. Look, I feel bad enough for failing on its own, there's no need for that tumultuous racket! Shut up!
Go to hell! Either way, most of the game you have here is just classic Breakout, so reviewing that over and over again would just be redundant at best. So instead, I thought it'd make more sense to go through the story mode, go through every level individually, see what gameplay additions they bring and how it spices up the Breakout formula, and then cap off by finally concluding this epic tale about fatty sticks with feelings.
To begin with, we break out of prison. With some pretty easygoing stages. You get through a wall here, get through another wall to then break through a fence at the very back of the stage here, and then end with a totally out of nowhere wolf chase segment. I guess they used this to make Breakout worth including on the PS1 somehow. First off, there's a pin-up of Daisy in the jail cell. Why? Was Bouncer carrying it with him and posted it there, or was it there all along? In which case, how did it get there? Is Daisy a model in this universe? Is she considered hot stuff in the land of paddles with eyes? Secondly, Bouncer, never open your mouth again. This entire world is the safest place you'll have in the game to mess around with the controls and camera angles, not just because of the tutorial, but because it's slow and straightforward to help you get to grips with everything. There's 3 camera angles to flip between as well for maximum enjoyment. A wobbly, windy 3D camera that follows you as you move left and right, or doesn't and makes you feel seasick. A behind the paddle view that is more or less the same but angled slightly higher and doesn't move at all. And my favourite, the standard overhead, because after all, this is Breakout, and being able to see everything on screen is very helpful for planning my next move. This stuff is all great so far, but the one fatal flaw Breakout has, the one thing that makes it nearly unplayable for most of the game, is how sensitive the controls are. Doesn't matter if you use the D-pad or analog sticks, the movement of your paddle is stiff and way too sensitive. You'll fly all over the damn place at the slightest press, but also have no momentum, so it makes it hard to judge how hard to press the analog stick or D-pad down. And in a game where that's all you'll be doing for the entire thing, that's a spicy problem. The ball has a nasty habit too of randomly going through the paddle for no reason. This I just don't understand, and it doesn't happen consistently enough where I can tell you what the problem is. But once again, for a game that only requires you to bounce a ball back and forth, that's not good. And this chase sequence, I feel like after playing Pacman, I'm never going to escape from him. This whole bit is simply dreadful. You hold X to run away, try to grab metal balls on the floor that are warned ahead of time yet are never clear on where you should actually be, let go of X to throw them back at the wolf and hope that you hit him, and most of the time you don't, leaving you to be The amount of trial and error here really did make me think of Pacman all over again. It has the exact same issues, except now you have to try knocking back the chasing threat instead of just running away from it. I was able to avoid the wolf's bite one singular time, and after that, it just became a memory game of when and where metal balls would appear, because I could never avoid his bites at any other point after the first one. Was this a glitch? And this awful part is finished off with Bouncer leaping over a hang on a rootin' tootin' second here. If I could leap over that fence just now, why couldn't I jump on the boxes and jump over the other fence from earlier? The next world sees us in Egypt. Whoa, okay, that's quite a jump in location. Why Egypt? No idea. I'm a little more fixated on why Bouncer is expanding for no reason and then says out loud he must go deeper, followed by him shouting that he's coming. Who made this game? You get mostly standard Breakout stages here, but with a few new additions. Shaking blocks that double your ball count when hit, evil red flashing blocks that periodically light up and once hit push the entire stage closer to you to increase the tension, and a less interesting mechanic of needing to hit all these panels down in one go, otherwise try again from the start and keep doing it over and over again until you get it right. You know, pretty basic stuff, but decent enough to add a bit more strategy to a simple Breakout game. However, that panel knocking part there is a small foreshadowing to how much more tedious this style of Breakout will get, so keep your knickers on. In the game itself, you also have 2 different paddle modes to switch from. Curved mode, which looks really unhelpful, but is closer in terms of ball interaction to the original Breakout paddle, and Slice mode, which is much easier to bounce a ball back at the correct angle across the whole paddle, yet compensates that by twisting the paddle the opposite direction to where you move every time you move, which can get annoying if you want to be more accurate. Overall, both do have their uses, as do the controller trigger twists that have different angles of twist based on if you hold 1 or 2 triggers down on each end of the controller. I'm happy for a 3D version of a classic with a lot more gimmicks going on that they saw that having more control over your paddle was important. It's just a shame that the controls are so bloody sensitive, and starting from scratch every single time you overshoot picky darting movement with fast moving balls and targets gets old really fast.
But this doesn't get old.
There's also a much more traditional kind of boss that's nothing like the wolf chase from earlier. Hit the mummy with good aim, make sure to hit him frequently, otherwise the stage will get smaller every time he gets closer to you. Every time you hit him, he tries to hit you back. This is the kind of logical extreme in a boss battle environment I was looking for, Breakout, so thank you. Plus, it feels great to get the ball stuck inside the pyramid and have it destroy every part of it from the inside as it comes crumbling down. At this rate, we'll find ISIS in no time. This is then rounded off with you rescuing the first one of your friends to take down Batniks, and by the way, the more friends you unlock, the more you get to switch between during the game for their own unique abilities.
Yes, I know they have names, but who cares? They have eyes, and that's already too much for me to handle.
Next up, we're down on the farm. Yes, from ancient Egypt to a farm. But the farm is debatably more dangerous than an undead mummy because these sheep aren't having any of your shit. We start off with yet more basic stuff. It's Breakout again, but you have to try bumping the slowly moving sheep out of the arena. It's what you'd expect, so let's chat briefly about something else that isn't so great about the game, the power-ups. Except for the elongated paddle power-up, all of them once activated last for for no longer than 2 seconds. Yes, I'm not joking. Look, it's completely pathetic. And that's even if you want to use the power-up in the first place for how useless many of them are. Just for a few examples, you have a flick power-up which fires the ball so fast towards the top left that it's practically impossible to keep up with. A giant power-up that's useful, but once again lasts like 2 seconds, so relying on it to catch multiple balls is not worth it. A shrink, which, well, you got me there, this is terrible. Terrible! A multi-ball split, which does come in handy to be fair, but even the most handy ones like the ball grab and aim power-up for instance end up not being useful whatsoever, since by the time you grab the ball, the game just lets go of it before you can aim it. Why? Especially when it takes so much effort to successfully grab a power-up in the first place, trying to get the ball to bounce at them within the stage or letting the ball roll past you to bounce back up while making sure that you're in the right position to grab the power-up, rolling down or flying up while keeping your own ball still in the game without losing a life is way harder than it sounds. Made even better when the ball is in the perfect position to bounce upwards from behind you and give you a power-up and then get stuffed! Or when you're just trying to play the stage normally without the power-ups at all, but they get right in the way at the last possible second, throwing you off and making you lose a life. This is extremely problematic in the second part of the farm stage too, when you're in a barn and cannot for the life of you even see what's going on with obstructive wooden beams and power-ups appearing out of nowhere, meaning like it or lump it, you've got to use the lower down 3D view, which makes it harder to see the whole picture, leading to a lot of this whole chicken part completely sucks. The arena is way too small, the camera is way too close, the angle is not useful whatever camera mode you go with. Why can't you just walk around the barn, you muppet? Oh god, I finally did it. Now on to... wait. No. What? Oh god, the chickens came back! Now in Space Invaders formation, moving faster and faster the more chickens you hit, using more hazards like rotten eggs that can flip you upwards, slow you down, and that you can't control getting hit by because if you need to hit your own ball back, you have to take the hit at the same time or else lose a life, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. This must be one of the worst parts of the game by far. I swear to god, this part of the game gave me nightmares about chickens all week.
The cheeky in the biscuit. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Come on out, don't be chicken. Oh god, no! No!
Oh, and you want to know what's even better? The final part of the stage isn't a traditional boss again, but yet another stupid gimmick where you're pushing ducks off of the slowest moving raft I've ever seen in my life. Alright then, let's begin.
I'm done.
For this part, use the American paddle. He's the biggest and strongest of your friends, so he's able to push the ducks further back and not get hit back too much himself. But that still doesn't stop the stage from ganging up on you 80% of the time, leaving you totally unable to run away or fight back, meaning you lose lives over and over again. And by the way, they never shut the everlasting duck up. You know what this sounds like? That Szechuan sauce guy. In fact, these ducks sound worse than him. Okay, no, I changed my mind. I also have to take back what I just said. That wasn't a gimmick boss battle, that was just a gimmick stage, because here's the actual gimmick boss in the form of another wolf chase. Oh joy. Thankfully it's nowhere near as hard as before since you have different viewing angles for most of it.
But still, give me a break. Ow.
And you go through all of this just so that you can save another friend who, I kid you not, was just sitting inside a scarecrow and could jump out to help us at any time. You're a tosspot. Stage 4 sees us in a castle. God, I remember that time when Nathan Drake went to a prison, ancient Egypt, a castle, and then a farm. And we start off by seeing that truly dreadful dragon kidnapping a friend that looks like a French fry. We need to get rid of some of the knights guarding the gates by pushing them off of the ends of the bridge and being quick about it so that they don't jump back to the center, followed by breaking this wall guarded by more knights actively looking after the dragon terrorizing the castle. And if I fire a shot towards the dragon, he returns the favor by spitting back flaming balls that slice through everything like butter, making it easier for me to get to the dragon and kill him. This place is whack. You also get double the ball count every time you land in one of these rooms, so why are they so keen to help me break through their barriers? I suppose I should talk about all the other friends though, since you can indeed play as them, but I'm not really sure you'd want to. You have the American paddle that's the biggest and also the slowest. Oh, hardy ha ha. And even though that sounds useful with the sensitive controls, it isn't, because he moves way too slow for the speed some of the stages reach. The magnet paddle is basically the same as bouncer, but has the benefit of attracting the ball towards you. Sounds good, right? But no, French fry paddle doesn't seem to do anything as far as I could tell, but does make me question what McDonald's are cooking their chips in. And the camouflage paddle is the fastest of the bunch, which in a game with sensitive controls makes it completely unplayable. By the way, this castle is topped off with not only an insultingly easy jumping and ducking segment, Pepsi Man, leave me alone! But also the worst boss in the game, in which you need to avoid dragon breath F, automatically pick up blocks that freeze you, leaving you open to attack and that you can't control because you can't see where you're positioned because of the camera, can't change the camera angle, and so also have no clue whereabouts you should be aiming in this stupid 3D space, and the game had the ingenious decision of making you slow right down every time you get attacked, causing you to be nearly unable to avoid the next fire breath attack.
But you know, it's her favourite game of all time!
Stage 5 and we're in a factory, in possibly the most tedious section of the game. It's introduced with a relatively okay grab and throw section where you need to get good at positioning and fast reflexes to keep on the conveyor belts, avoid explosives and fire at the blocks, but then quickly nosedives with these puzzle slide sections where it is 100% luck based. I'm not joking, you have to knock the correct block down at the correct time to line up the randomly placed tubes that connect to the other side of the stage. But there's absolutely no strategy here, you just keep on doing it until you get it right, and that's assuming you don't accidentally hit a previous tile that you already had lined up, causing you to have to cycle through even more tiles that fit, but by that time mean you may hit the other tiles to make those tiles out of line. Ending with a boss fight that isn't too bad to be fair, but just like the tiles, is tedious as hell for how fast this guy is. Especially if, once again, you have no choice but to be hit by his lasers, since the ball you have to hit back is where he is, causing you to slow down and miss the next ball, so you might as well have just lost a life the second he touches you anyway. At least you can get your payback in a second part of the boss fight where you just spam shoot over and over again until he dies. I like death. This ends with us flying off to space, and oh boy did I game over countless times on this fuel segment. See, you have to lower the platform here to get the fuel to the bottom of the stage, but have to be quick to lower the opposite end as soon as you lower one end at a time, otherwise these exploding barrels slide too far off to one side, fall off and make you lose a life. Trying to do this with finicky aiming and sensitive controls nearly drove me to strangle a cat, and this is ignoring the fact that you rescued all your friends and you could easily just press both switches at the same time with any one of them. Why are we smacking a steel sphere into these things? Aren't we in a rush? We then get into the rocket after this part and partake in a game of smack the meteors at the right angle to bounce them into other meteors, which is a decent little challenge. Not much to say here. Capping it all off with a semi-decent fight against Batnix himself, where you can both fire rockets at each other by hitting the same switch multiple times, yet can also dodge the opponent's rockets. So the trick is figuring out how to fire more than one rocket at him at once in order to corner him and leave him unable to dodge, and that makes for a chaotically suitable finale if you ask me. Batnix then taunts you, escapes, and the game stops. Yeah, not kidding. We just finished the boss, he runs away, and then we jump to silent, awkward credits. What cement head designed this? Oh wait, it isn't the end just yet, silly me, because in order to win, you must finish off Batnix's greatest challenge yet to save Daisy. A game of original Breakout. Okay, you know what? I didn't see this coming. This is pretty adorable. It's just a shame that despite it being on a cutting-edge system in the year 2000, I'd rather play it on a 1977 Atari. These controls ruin the game outright. I can't stress that enough. And Batnix, whatever you're doing, stop doing it. You're really putting me off. And what in the name of sack happened there? Okay, finally, we're at the end. So how does this story conclude? Daisy and Bouncer get back together and make out. I'm not even going to ask how the rest of it works. They all kick out Batnix, who flies out into space and explodes, leaving us to dance around a campfire in the middle of a beach. And good riddance to him, because after all that pain Batnix put me through, he deserved to explode.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell by now, in my opinion, there's not much point playing this one. I mean, I do have to give it credit in some places. I love how much variety is there, the charm that the little paddles have, and the fact it does try to do more with itself than just a 3D Breakout remake. It's far from the worst game I've ever played, but the problem is just how mediocre many of the variety segments are, made plain bad with the sensitivity and the controls, and those bad segments are bad enough on their own, made even worse with the sensitive controls. So there you go, honey, I've now looked at your favourite PS1 game of all time. Can we please go to KFC?
Why?
Because I never want to see a chicken again, and I'm gonna eat all of them. It's a chicken nightmare! Hello there everybody, and thank you so much for staying until the very end of this video. The outtakes will be on in just a sec, so please stay tuned. But first of all, I'd love to apologise for the state of me and the state of the lighting and everything right now. It is currently 1 in the morning right now, and I'm in the middle of a heavy editing session, but I had to get this filmed because I forgot to film it, so there you go. That's why everything looks a little bit dingy and horrible. And secondly, I very quickly want to say a quick thank you to chrono.gg for sponsoring today's episode. If you go to the description below to chrono.gg/caddy, you'll get yourself an insanely good Steam game every single 24 hours. Bookmark the site, set up Google Chrome notifications. Every single 24 hours you get a new game on Steam that is insanely good value through my link, especially in the description below, chrono.gg/caddy. I use it all the time myself. I've got
all sorts of great games from it, so I highly recommend you check it out. Thirdly, I'd love to thank every single name on the screen right now who have supported this channel via Patreon. Thank you so much, every single one of you guys. The show would not be possible without all of you helping out. And also, as we go into the outtakes, special thanks to the top tier supporters for this month. Exopaz, Matthew Hubble, The Mirthful Misanthrope, Brandon, Kirsten B, Cyberpunk Symphony, Nicole Ganara, Dave Marshall, Fart Rules, thank you so much for making your name that, Crotchety Old Emu, another great name, Nico Randell, The Game Shed, Daniel Leon, Mitchell Reed, and A.D. Thornton Smith. Thank you so much, every single one of you amazing people.
This is Stanley. He's brown. Ow. Get down.
Amity.
Okay. No, stop. Just wanted to say a special thanks to this lovely chap over here, Luke, for letting us chase his chickens around the back garden of his farm. And also how amazing he is at homemade, like, stitching and sewing for cosplays and stuff. I can't think of any way to say thanks other than showing off how awesome you are at doing cosplay stuff.
Well, I totally caught this chicken. It definitely wasn't Luke.
Let's be serious for a second, though. Oh. Hi, miss.
It's a chicken bonanza!
But still, give me a break. Out! This is vacuous! Who? So there you go, honey. I've now taken a look at your favourite PS1 game of all time. Can we please go to KFC?
He's eating his breakfast.
It's lunchtime, you bloody stupid animal!
This is Gordon.
I'm about to catch him.
Oh, God. Oh, Gordon.
He's hissing.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Don't do it. If you get bitten.
He's not a chicken anyway.